I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're taking a deep dive into the mind of an author who has seamlessly transitioned from the world of technical writing and screenplays to gripping mainstream fiction. Today, we're talking with Larry Rhodes. He is the mastermind behind the enthralling novel, Nothing But the Truth. It is a story that challenges the boundaries of truth and deception. Join us right now as we explore the inspiration and details behind this fascinating narrative. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight, and we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Larry, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
One of the aspects of your book that I liked so much was the foolproof lie detector. Wouldn't it be great to have that? Because so many people say, I'll take a lie detector test, and then they can dispute the results because they're not truly accurate. But if accuracy could be guaranteed, what do you see as the value of having this tool?
Well, I mean, would it change the way people think and work and do if they knew they could not lie? I mean, what if you knew that if every time you told a lie, somebody would know that and be able to challenge you on it? Would it change the way you perhaps go and do things?
Yeah, I think we're almost there now, not with a lie detector test, but with the fact that every one of our movements is videotaped. I mean, literally, if I suspected you doing something, Larry, I could watch you leave your house, get in your car, drive down the highway, walk into a store, make a purchase. I mean, it's amazing when you say Big Brother is watching, Big Brother is watching. So we kind of are accountable for all of our actions nowadays because we're always being watched. Do you agree?
In a way, but I mean, is that where we really want to go? I mean, it's kind of sounds like something they do in communist China, where they record every single thing you do. And if you're out and walking on the street, there's 30 cameras that are following you. I mean, I don't know if that's where we really want to go, but the idea
we don't want to go there,
is,
but we're there, unfortunately,
yeah,
right?
this is a very narrow field of that. It's hopefully to, when you go to trial or something and someone accuses you of something that other people are coming there and telling lies about you, that you could have a way to prove that's not true. Yeah. That was the whole point of this story, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's give the folks at home an overview. What is the book, Nothing But the Truth, about?
So it's about a NASA scientist who's different things, but one day his wife divorces him, and during that trial, she accuses him of a bunch of things that's not true, but there's no way he could prove it wasn't true. So she divorced him. So he became determined to try to come up with a way so that couldn't happen to him or someone else again. So he was a spectroscopist, and that's what my background training is. I'm an analytical chemist, but my dissertation work was in analytical chemistry and spectroscopy. So I thought of a couple of things that may be useful in terms of things that could be done to determine if someone's lying or not. And it's kind of I don't know how I should really start it, but the inspiration for all this began in the early 1990s with some scientists that came up with an idea called voice stress analysis, where it's a fact today that sometimes when people tell lies, there is something called a microtremor that happens a few thousandths of a second after they're finished. And with appropriate detector, you can tell that they're lying, basically. And the reason why it came up is that this was like 30 years after President Kennedy was assassinated. And I don't know if you remember, but he left the jail and they were escorting him to the courthouse, and he went through an underground parking garage, and there was a crowd of reporters there. They were asking him a bunch of questions. So these scientists played that tape, and they pointed out the times when he lied. He said, well, he said this, but he was lying. And so, in other words, if they had had that tool back in 1961, he wouldn't have been able to tell all those lies and get away with it. Yeah. So but then it started me, thinking about, hey, so why don't we use lie detectors like that? So I started researching and found out that exactly what you said was there are ways that you can beat a lie detector. Yeah. And one of those is you can take drugs, which kind of reduce your response. And actually, spies can be trained to pass a lie detector. Yeah. So, and also it's obvious because if they're going to give you a lie detector, they hook you up to a machine and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you know what's going on. But the idea here was you would have some techniques where the person being interviewed doesn't even know that they're being evaluated.
Yeah,
And
it's
it
a great
combines,
premise. Yeah.
yeah, it combines two or three different techniques, and then comes up with a number from 1 to 100 on what's the probability this person's lying. 100 is 100% true, and 1 is a complete lie.
Yeah.
That
Very,
was
very
Andy.
interesting premise. And I would imagine one day we're going to get there, what with artificial intelligence being what it is, no doubt. But I also understand when it comes to psychopaths and sociopaths that current lie detector tests don't work because they don't have the emotional response that we
No, they
have because
don't.
they lack empathy. So
That's
it's
right.
kind of interesting. If you're a good-hearted person, they'll find out you're lying. If you're a cold-blooded killer, it's hard to
Right.
tell. You transitioned from the scientific world as well as writing technical papers in the oil and gas industry to writing screenplays. One, how and why did you make that transition? And two, have you written a screenplay yet for this book?
Okay, so it sounds odd, but one time, this was a number of years ago, my wife and I were coming out of a movie, and I commented to her, I said, "This is terrible. I could write a better story than that." And everybody says things like that, but she said, "Well, why don't you?" So so I said, okay. So it's like a challenge. So I bought screenwriting software, and the internet was available at the time. So I downloaded like 50 screenplays just to see what screenplays look
Mhm.
like. Because some people have never really seen a screenplay.
Right.
And it really, you have to really get into how they're writing, what they're doing, what they're trying to say, everything. Because I don't know, many people know that, but screenplay, the format the screenplay this is today was actually developed in the 20s and 30s on a
Mhm.
typewriter. And the format that was developed was, the intent was that one page of that screenplay would be 1 minute on the screen. And because Americans generally don't like movies that are more than 2 hours, you can't write a screenplay that's more than 120 pages, or they won't even look at it. If you send them one that's 200 pages, they'll say, "I'm sorry, nobody wants that." So all that led to, okay, I started writing screenplays, and I probably wrote 5 or 6 or different ones, and I even copyrighted some of them. One of those that I did write was Nothing But the Truth.
Mhm.
And I was entering screenplays contests. I was, doing all these things. I never won, but I got several honorable mentions, those kind of things.
Mhm.
Until I read one time where someone pointed out that there's 80,000 screenwriters in the world,
Mhm.
and they're only making 300 or 400 movies a year. So you do the math.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it also found out that once you are a proven screenwriter, Hollywood producers keep coming back to you for what else you have, what else you have. So
Right.
that further reduces the probability of someone unknown
Right.
getting a screenplay produced. So
Right.
I said, well, maybe I have better luck. And I found a literary agent I was trying to get to represent me in screenplays, but she also did books. So I started talking to her about it. I said, would I have a better chance if this were a novel? She said, well, you understand it's a huge difference between a screenplay and a book. The
Mhm.
screenplay, by the way, is about 25,000 words. If you
Right.
download all of them, they average, a little bit different, but they're all about 25,000 words. And she said, the novel you need is 100,000 words.
Mhm.
And I said, what that, that's going to add a lot of detail here. And what the reason why that's different is that when they produce a screenplay, they get a meeting, a kickoff meeting where there's like 20 people in the room, and they go through it. Everybody sees their thing. They're looking for costumes and props and all this kind of
Mhm.
stuff. But you don't have any of that here. You've got to put all that in.
Yeah.
So it took a long time to convert Nothing But the Truth from a screenplay to a novel. And it was taking so much time. I said, well, maybe, I wonder if it's easier just to write another book from scratch. So I started another book from scratch. And the other one seemed to go quicker, and I actually finished them both almost the same time. So
Interesting. And I do think you're right. I think it's easier to start again than to take that screenplay and turn it into a novel
yes,
because it's two separate beasts,
it
like you
is.
said. By the way, an interesting book for you to read also is called Independent Ed by Ed Burns, the actor. It's all about taking those screenplays and making your own movie, which is very, very interesting. He made The
That's an
Brother
interesting idea.
McMullen for $25,000. So
Wow.
you never know. It's amazing. In Nothing But the Truth, you talk about the different technologies in your storyline, of course,
Right.
and as well as artificial intelligence. So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about how you intertwine those two.
So 25 years ago, artificial intelligence may have existed, but not like it is today. It was just kind of more like a theory. So at the time, you may not have remembered, there was something called neural networks. So in the original version of Nothing But the Truth, all these different techniques, the voice stress analysis, the blood flow in the face, and the exhaled CO2, all those kind of things, those different things are in the book, were combined by a neural network, which is a smart system that combines data. So what you do is you test it against knowns and unknowns. You test against people who are lying and against the not list. So it trains the neural network, and that's where it became, is that it would figure out whether you're lying or not. But now, this is 25 years later, we've got artificial intelligence, and it has much more capability today and everything. So it was fairly easy to change that from neural networks to artificial intelligence, doing the same exact thing, but in a much more efficient and compact way.
Yeah. Now, you're obviously a very intelligent person who's done technical writing, as we said, has been involved in the scientific world. Does that hurt or help when you're a novelist? Do you have to dumb down some of what you're writing?
No, actually, it's just coincidental. I've kind of just finished my last novel, and it's all about artificial intelligence.
Well, that's
so
great.
I had to do a lot of research to get it all into something that would be believable. And maybe I'm not an artificial intelligence expert, but I hope it would at least pass, muster enough that they would ignore whatever's not technically correct and look at the story, because there's more to it. And there's a story. It's not just artificial intelligence.
What's the name of the book?
It's going to be called Companions.
Sounds great. Looking forward to that. When you're ready to release it, come on back on the show. You're sitting in front of one of your book covers. Tell us about that.
That is Nothing But the Truth, because like I said, I haven't received an actual physical copy of that book yet, the revised copy. So, but I did approve the cover. And so what I decided was, since I can't hold up the book to show it to you like most people seem to do, I'll just put the cover page on the back as a background. So that's the background cover for Nothing But the Truth.
And that's the truth. Nothing but the truth, for sure. So help me God. There we go. Larry Rhodes is a mastermind behind an enthralling novel that is called Nothing But the Truth. It is a story that challenges the boundaries of truth and deception, and will have you thinking, hey, what if that were really the case? What if there was a lie detector that was foolproof? Would you like it? Would you embrace it? Would you try it on your spouse? I don't know.
Actually, the thing you're talking about is in the very first chapter almost, because the main character takes it to a bar to meet some friends, and there's a woman sitting in a bar just having a drink, but there's this guy that keeps hitting on her, and they say, well, hey, I have this device. So he puts it in front of her, and it starts detecting this guy's lies. Who's trying to get her to go out with him, and she basically kicks him out. But that's just an example. And she says at the end, when the guy's left, can I buy one of these? My friends and I could really use these, because it tells people that are, they're obviously not doing things because they want to meet you or anything. They're just doing it for other reasons.
Telling you what you want to hear in many cases. Yeah. This is a great book. It would make a great movie as well. Hollywood, if you're listening, the screenplay is already written. In fact, it was written first. And this new book could be adapted. I know you made a lot of changes in writing the book as well with the expansion. Larry, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.